Well, welcome to York Fresh Food Farms, guys. York's first, right now, urban farm. We grow in York City for the people of York City. We love the people of York City. And we're here today to kind of celebrate and welcome the governor and the Secretary of Agriculture to our little place in the corner of the world.
Not so little.
Yes, that's a little, but we're trying to improve and make greater impact into a community that has healthy food access issues, and that's what we're about here. That's our mission, to do more and do it better. So I'd like to welcome the governor, Secretary Redding, for Representative for Carroll Hill, Davis. She was here a moment ago. I just saw her. The Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. I see Kevin with York County Economic Alliance. I didn't see Dave here. I was hoping he was here. Okay. And the Miss Agricultures, guys, back here in the back. And Mayor Helfrich, who I just saw Michael here a moment ago. Okay, he had to go. Okay. So I like the short thing. Again, this mission started with an idea in 2012 where I decided to get my chit as a master gardener after gardening for over 50 years. And there was an empty seat next to me, and a lady asked to sit next to me, and that was Meta Barber. Meta was just retired from Stock and Leader as an attorney that handled 501c3s. I shared where I would like to do with my gardening, which is to go, as I said, to the next level. I'd already visited a number of urban farms. And I said, York needs to go to the next level. I was already working and helping manage Northeast Neighborhoods Gardens for a couple years. And Meta said, I'm on board with this. And it started our journey, which ultimately broke ground in 2016, effectively becoming a farm. The buses, which you see one behind us, from my childhood days of having a pony and cart to meet the neighborhoods, to come to the people instead of have the people come to you. We're not going to be bricks and mortar. We're going to meet people where they're at. We're going to go out into neighborhoods. We're going to run the surveys twice a year and ask them what we can do better for you. What would you suggest? Always ask your clientele. And a lot of what we grow is simply from conversations I had when I was in the gardens, asking people what they like. And we grow it. So the green beans, the collards, the kales, you name it, so on and so forth, is what they tell me they want. Nothing super fancy, just good food. We make it affordable. If you look at our advertisements, whatever forms of payment just about, we process. And it's priced below the market because we want it for the people at a healthy food access distressed population to be able to have good food on their plates. So that's basically it. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you, Ray. Dave. Okay. Let me invite Dave Lessard from Giant to come up and say a few words. Dave?
Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, thank you, Governor. What a beautiful day, huh? Couldn't ask for anything better than this, right? So on behalf of the Giant Company, we are honored to be here today to celebrate Urban Ag Week with our partners at York Fresh Food Farm. 2023 is a very special year for Giant. I don't know if everyone knows this, but we're celebrating our 100th anniversary, 100 years, so it's really awesome.
Wow.
Okay? As we reflect on our legacy, we recognize that ag is essential to our business and fulfilling our purpose of connecting families for a better future. However, we also realize there are gaps in the food system, and not everyone has equal access to fresh foods. As a community grocer, food access and food security are extremely important to us, which is why we continue to partner with community leaders and vendor partners to strengthen our food system, which is really, really needed. Urban ag is so critical to this narrative. It is growing food security, creating healthier communities, which we talked about, addressing food system inequities, and connecting families around the dinner table. Here at York Fresh Food Farms, we've seen the power of urban farming to create healthy, resilient communities through our Healing the Planet partnership. And there is more we can do to support urban farms across the Commonwealth. That is why we are so excited to support this year's PA Urban Ag Infrastructure Grant Program. Today, I am extremely pleased to announce the Giant Company is donating $200,000 to support Urban Ag Grant Program. What's important is these dollars will help grow resilient, food-secure communities for generations to come. And it is a legacy we are proud to be part of for the next 100 years and beyond. So thank you at this time, and I'd like to welcome Secretary Redding.
Dave, thank you so much, Dave. Yeah, Dave, thank you, and good morning, everybody. There is comfort here, right? As I stand around and you walk in and out of these greenhouses and hoop houses, and you just sort of marvel at folks who are really good at doing what they do, right? They grow great product, and Bruce, and there's nobody better. I mean, I think about the stories of the challenges that we have around food and food access, and to get into these urban centers and get a chance to look around. You take a space that was vacant and you turn it into this oasis, right? And just how important that is, not just in terms of its productivity, but then what it does in terms of extending that benefit out into the larger community. And that really is what this week of Urban Ag Week in Pennsylvania is about. It's discovering folks who are, toiling away in their work at the same time feeding their neighbors, feeding the communities. Right? That was the genesis of the Urban Ag Infrastructure Grant, recognizing that sometimes it's the simple need of a water line. It's a hoop house. It is electricity. It's being able to put in a washer and scrubber so you can put product into the marketplace. All of that is part of what we have included as part of our infrastructure grant for the urban ag. As I have said often, there was a time when we could go into urban centers and talk about food, but only from a food bank, from a charitable standpoint, and never from the standpoint of economic development and community development and personal development. And that is the change that has occurred over the last number of years. And of course, the need has continued to grow. So I am proud to stand here today with the governor, and who's been incredibly supportive from day one, and even before that, about agriculture and its role in Pennsylvania, its role in both the economic development, also just the quality of life in this Commonwealth. So, Governor, thank you, and to Dave, thank you for the continued work with Giant. They've been a great partner over the years. It's not just standing here today. And increasing, by the way, our capacity within the Urban Ag Grant by 40%. It's every day what they do in the landscapes of Pennsylvania farms. So, Dave, thank you very much for that. There are a few truths in Urban Ag Week. One is that agriculture might be the only thing that touches every single person every single day, regardless of where you live, your income, where you came from, where you call home. Agriculture touches you. Two, that food and agriculture connect us. That is a truth. And third, importantly, that communities of resilience must be fueled by fresh, healthy foods. That is all part of the Urban Ag story this week, and what we've been blessed with over the last couple of years. And again, with the governor's budget, includes the funding for the PA Farm Bill, which has a key part of that is the Urban Ag Grant, fully funded at $500,000, and we will continue to do amazing things with it. But don't miss the point that this is not simply about having productive spaces. It is about production plus making sure that we're feeding those in the community who are most vulnerable, and with really good fresh food. That is what we are after, and we are seeing it across Pennsylvania. And I think it's one of the great sort of changes that have occurred in the last couple of years is the rediscovery of food, and the importance of it both to our daily existence, but also the capacity of this government and people in the community to respond to a food system. So we see that in our Urban Ag grants, and I'm pleased to announce that we will open this weekend at the conclusion of Urban Ag Week the next round of Urban Ag grants, infrastructure grants for Pennsylvania. It will include the $500,000 that's part of the governor's budget, as well as the $200,000 from Giant. So we will now have $700,000 to invest in this next year. That will open this weekend, and very easily you can apply through agriculture.pa.gov and go to the Farm Bill banner and drop down to Urban Ag Grants, and the application is there. But also to note that every dollar that is in the Urban Ag Grant is matched. It comes from local partners. I see board members here today who are part of this journey, and we've seen it across Pennsylvania. Every dollar is matched. So we've put $2 million in. That's been a $2 million match, and $4 million. And of course, this year with the 700 will become 1.4 million. But that doesn't happen just because you and I like it. Right? It happens because there are folks who are in the community working on it. There's folks who are in the public space, and particularly to have it led by the governor and Governor Shapiro, who has been a great champion for agriculture, a champion for people, and recognizing that we as an industry are at the intersection of some of the most important issues of our time. And how we respond to that is important. How we use that capacity of this government to respond to the needs is what is embedded in the budget and the work that the governor is doing. So I am very honored to serve with the governor and thank him for recognizing the importance of agriculture, for supporting urban agriculture and the other components of the Farm Bill, to include the fresh food financing. We haven't talked about that, but again, themes here around food and food access and using agriculture to both feed people and improve the quality of life in our neighborhood. That's what the governor's about, and I'm honored to work with him and introduce him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, everybody. It's good to be back in York and to have the chance to be with all of you and to pick up some veggies along the way here. The Secretary spoke of 3 truths when it comes to urban ag, and with his permission, I might add a 4th that is sort of applicable across across all different aspects of our Commonwealth and areas of our Commonwealth. And that is that passionate people who are truly dedicated to their cause and to one another, they're the engine that makes our Commonwealth move forward. And Bruce, you are one of those passionate people. I am so impressed by what I see here. I'm impressed by your life story. And I'm impressed that you chose to do something a little different, but with a whole lot of impact in our community. And I'm excited for our little broccoli contest later on this fall. But I truly appreciate you, and it's folks like Bruce all across this Commonwealth that help us move forward and that make the Secretary and I just so proud to be able to be with you today and lift up your work and highlight your work and celebrate it. Look, we have a proud agricultural history and heritage here in this Commonwealth, one that has not only fed people, and as the Secretary says often, there's very little that's more noble than feeding someone, especially someone who is in need. But that has also been really the impetus behind our economic progress over centuries here in this Commonwealth. Every year, Pennsylvania's agriculture sector contributes $132 billion to our economy. And in the case of this urban farm, it helps meet a specific need while also being an economic engine. It also supports 1 in 10 jobs across Pennsylvania. And yet, despite that great and rich heritage, 1.2 million Pennsylvanians every single day struggle to get enough to eat. Now, the thing I know about this area is that number was higher than 1.2 million before Bruce showed up. And people like Bruce and others are helping decrease that number of people who maybe go to bed hungry or worried about where their next meal is coming from. And in a state with a powerhouse agriculture industry, known for the quality of all of our produce and other goods, it's unthinkable, really, that hunger lurks in the shadows the way it does today. In York County alone, more than 35,000 people face food insecurity every single day. 35,000 of our neighbors in this community struggling, wondering where that next meal might come. This is a real challenge, not just for York County, but for our entire Commonwealth. And it affects rural and urban communities alike. It doesn't follow any particular municipal boundary. And we've got to be there to support and lift up our fellow Pennsylvanians the way Bruce is doing every day. According to the most recent statistics available from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, there's more than 750,000 Pennsylvanians who don't have access to food stores. So think about that mom who doesn't have a car, and after a long day, maybe working a couple jobs, taking the bus to and from work, then they got to figure out how to travel miles without a car just to get some fresh fruits and vegetables for her kids. I think fresh foods and vegetables should be available and accessible as much in the city as it is out in the burbs, as much for people with cars and people without them. That's why I'm really proud to be here today during Urban Ag Week to highlight the incredible work that is being done to eliminate food deserts and to fight back against hunger and a lack of fresh produce right here in the city of York. See, York Fresh Food Farms is the first and only urban farm in the city of York. And I have to say, I'm incredibly impressed with the operation you have here that started, as you said, back in 2016, but was probably
2012. It started.
2012. It was being dreamed of long before that. And what they've done over the last decade or so is just extraordinary. They now grow, let's see if I got this right, about 30 tons.
14 to 16 tons between the two on an annual basis.
14 to 16 tons of this organic produce to get it to the people who need it most. They've got a mobile market to reach people where they are and to make sure that those who maybe can't travel, our seniors and others, get access to this great produce. You know, if you look at Pennsylvania's rich agricultural history, we also have a rich history of innovation in agriculture. And I believe the next generation of agricultural innovation involves urban agriculture. And we need to look to leaders like York Fresh Foods Farms to be an example to other communities across Pennsylvania. And I believe it's incumbent upon us in the Commonwealth's government to invest in their success and to lift this up as an example of what we need in other communities across Pennsylvania. You heard a little bit about this from the Secretary before, but since our first Farm Bill was signed, Pennsylvania has invested millions of dollars to support innovation in agriculture, including more than $2 million in urban agriculture alone. York Fresh Foods Farms has received grants in the past, and hopefully will receive more in the future. And if you'll allow me to brag about the Secretary for a moment and his team at the Department of Agriculture, this program is so well run that even private companies want to get in on it. I mean, think about that for a minute. Private companies wanting to invest in government. It usually doesn't always work that way. But here we have Giant with a rich 100-year history and tradition in this Commonwealth and across the country who believe in what is being built here, who believe in the goals and the focus of making sure that we're eliminating food and fresh fruit and produce deserts. And so I want to thank Dave Lessard and the entire Giant team who joins us here today for their generosity. That $200,000 investment in urban ag is going to make sure that more families here in South Central Pennsylvania are going to get the help that they need. This year's state budget, which I will sign as soon as the Senate shows up for session, also includes $2 million for the Fresh Food Financing Initiative, which will help improve access to Pennsylvania-grown, processed, and produced food. So there's a lot in there for the people that Bruce and others are trying to serve here. And I want you to know that we're going to continue these public-private partnerships with companies like Giant and others to make sure that our investments go even further to help more farmers and help more people who are in need. Look, we need to continue to do the work to close the gaps between Pennsylvania's world-class agriculture industry and the kitchen tables that need help the most. I'm committed to doing that work. The Secretary is committed to doing that work, and we're going to make sure that that is a cause of this administration. We should not allow hunger to linger in the shadows. We should not allow people in urban or rural communities to wonder where that next meal is coming from. And folks like Bruce are stepping up to fill that gap, and we're going to continue to do our part. I want to thank all of the various partners who are here with us today, from the Chamber to our government officials and everyone else. This is an example of the good that can come when everybody works together, and this is an example of the good that can come when we trust people to be innovative and we give them the opportunities to go and solve problems in our communities. And so I'm proud to be your governor, and I'm proud to be here today to support this important work. And with that, I believe, Dave, we've got a special presentation to make. Is that right? So I'd invite your team up from Giant, and then after that, Bruce has generously agreed to answer all of your questions. Come on up there. Thanks, my friend.
Good. Well done. Very, very well done. Thank you. Yeah,
Come on
good,
together
good.
here, Bruce. Actually, why don't we go out front here?
Yeah.
So we see it better.
You're going to take a picture here.
All right.
Broccoli guy. I actually really like it. I love tomatoes. I'm going to take this one home and decide here. I'll tell you, I am not a pepper guy, and I'm not an onion guy. I'm sorry to disappoint, but I would say tomatoes and broccoli are probably my two favorites.